Yo, how's it going, you guys? It's Marcus Graber. So we're going to take a look at Palantir, also Tesla stock. In addition, we're going to take a look at AMD, just because someone mentioned it in the comment section down below, requesting that I take a look at AMD. So if you're interested in looking at a stock that you're interested in, comment it in the comment section down below. And if I think that it's a stock that others could gain value from, and I think it personally is interesting as well, I'll try to include it in a video. And if not, I'll probably comment there and at least throw in a stock twitch chart just like this, for example. Throw in a stock twitch message, create one for you, link it in your comment, and at least you'll get the value basically right away, or whenever I get around to do that quicker than I would make a video at least. So let's jump into this now. So we can take a look over here at Palantir stock right over here. I sent this message out basically, I think this was on Thursday. So also I don't make videos necessarily every single day. So if you want more of my updates between the videos I put out, definitely check me out on StockTwits. We can see here that I said that the RSI level that we hit yesterday, this is for Palantir stock, was around the level where Palantir has bottomed every time except the extreme May low that we saw over here. So we can see that basically the RSI level that we saw on this down day, this was on Wednesday, that we broke below the 50-day moving average, which was very interesting. We'll definitely cover that in this video. The every other time literally was the bottom of where the stock had made the low essentially. So this was an interesting RSI level. We can see that in May we dipped below here, but this is very extreme. This is like an actual absolute bottom in my opinion. Obviously, if the stock market absolutely just crashes in the near future or whenever it does, we could potentially see lower lows, of course, but this is definitely a true bottom, super capitulation going on type of thing here. So let's take a look at Palantir stock, see what's going on right now. So we can see we broke below the 50-day moving average right here. What's interesting is I talked about in my last update that basically, when we broke below these moving averages over here, that I thought we could hit this 50 period moving average. I also thought that it would be a quick, spicy reaction is what I talked about. And the reason why I thought it would be a quick, spicy reaction is because we saw over here and over here, every time we interacted with the 50-day moving average as resistance in this case, we basically bounced and were rejected pretty quickly. And then finally, when we broke above it over here, this is a significant break above it. And I don't think we're going to really break below it is the main point here. So even though we broke below it, I also didn't think that we'd break below it for too long. So there's a few interesting things going on at the moment. First of all, we were able to get the weekly close above the 50-day moving average on Friday, so that's great. And in addition, this is an interesting low. Why is this an interesting low? Well, we have this basically, when we were looking at this stock during this area period of consolidation here, we were watching this descending triangle. We were watching some patterns here, but this was a line that we were watching for quite some time as well. So an interesting thing about this line right here is that this was an area of resistance, and now we can see that this line is actually acting as an area of support, and that is not so surprising. So we are getting a lot of converging things with this trend line here, retesting it, the 50-day moving average being able to close back above it, the RSI levels being similar to the other periods where we hit these bottoms in the past. This is pointing to more of a bullish sign here. I think that we're going to fill this gap pretty quickly. And in addition, we're going to test these moving averages here. These moving averages being the 20 and also the 150-day moving averages. Are we going to break above these? We'll have to see. That's going to be the next significant test to see if we're going to head lower or if we can basically break above it and move higher. So this is going to be the next test. We have a little bit of ways to go until we meet these lines. So we're just going to see how that goes when we approach these moving averages. Let's take a look at Tesla stock over here. Tesla stock's pretty interesting because first of all, we broke below this trend line here. I was not expecting us to break significantly below this trend line here. And we can see that we had a false breakdown below this trend line. And not only did we have a false breakdown below this trend line, because we also closed right above it. So this is inherently a false breakdown below this trend line here. But this structure is now looking even stronger than it did before. The fact that we filled this gap down here, we filled all of these gaps here, this is looking pretty strong. This trend line here which we retested again, is just a trend line that we've been following for quite some time now, and we've been retesting it throughout this period back over here, and we're retesting it again throughout this entire move to the downside. This is just looking like great consolidation here. It's looking at positive price action. I'm expecting still bullish on Tesla in the short to medium term. The fact that we were able to close above this trend line was huge, and Tesla is looking like an outperformer lately compared to the market for the past couple of days. It's been looking pretty good. And also we have the catalyst with on Saturday. We're having the FSD, the latest FSD beta version 9 being released. I think that's a significant catalyst. I don't exactly know personally how much FSD should be worth to Tesla. Some people think it's worth a ton. Others think it's worth not so much because they think that other companies will and can do a similar thing, and it will have a lot of companies will have autonomous driving. And this is also in line with what actually Elon also personally thinks. He thinks that all cars will be electric, all cars will be autonomous, and the main thing that actually matters is the manufacturing and the efficiency and just continuously improving in those areas. And I agree with that. I'm just gonna look at the stock at the moment. I'm not sure. I don't want to get too involved in what I think FSD is going to be worth, because even if it's worth a lot, who knows when the market's going to pick that up and actually include that in the stock price, or whether it's baked in. So that's just something that it'll be icing on the cake if anything else. And I think that, I mean, it is don't get me wrong, it is a very important part. Software and all that type of recurring revenue is what makes Tesla super an interesting company and stock in a long-term growth story. Absolutely. Besides just the continuous adoption and conversion between gas cars to electric cars and the absolute domination in market share that Tesla has been having. Let's take a look at the S&P 500 right over here. We can see that basically this pattern here and what's going on here is unique compared to what happened over here. We talked about this and compared this over here. Now, at the same time, this is looking pretty bullish here. I think that on Monday, or early next week, we could see basically a sign of which direction we're going to go, whether we're going to finally break out to the upside or whether we're going to start to break down to the downside. This is on face value right now looking like a very bullish move. We kind of reset basically the RSI levels to even, so that we can even go even higher. Now, there's a few things here. I think that, first of all, I'm still bullish because we've been trading in this this basically sideways consolidation for quite some time, and I think that we had a move up into this area, and then we're gonna have a move out and continue to the upside here. That's kind of my bias. Now, a few other things is that if we continue to fail to get above this trend line, there's a certain amount of times where you are trying to get above a trend line, and then finally, like the more hits, generally speaking, goes to the more likely you'll break a trend line. So it's encouraging that we're hitting this so many times. At the same time, if we hit this like 2 additional times and continue to fail, then you can have something like this. We hit this line area so many times and then broke down below it. Obviously, we were able to finally break above it again over here. But the main point is that when you hit something so many times, it gets to a point where it's like, well, it looks like market participants don't believe that we can actually get above a point, right? So that's it could end up being a negative thing as well. So keep that in mind too. And let's take a look at AMD, our last stock here. There's some interesting things about AMD. And again, remember, if you want me to cover your stock, mention it in the comment section down below, and I'll take a look at that. And especially, I think others can gain value from that company as well. So we can look at this stock over here, AMD. A few interesting things, and also some interesting insight about potential arbitrage play, which I'll mention next. So we see here this consolidation right over here. This reminds me a little bit about 2017 actually, with this stock over here, this consolidation that we saw back here. And this would be on the bullish side. We saw that a huge move up to the upside, consolidation, and then followed by actually a parabolic move to the upside. This could be something that it wouldn't be so surprising to see if we're done consolidating here. We might not be done consolidating here. Maybe we have more consolidating to do. We'll see. But due to the economic environment and the things surrounding AMD, and also what we're seeing with NVIDIA, it wouldn't be surprising to see a significant move to the upside. And when I think about a significant move to the upside, I'm kind of looking at like at least 100, but potentially going to 110. Maybe even 120. The main point, I do think that this stock, it could consolidate more, but basically, I think we're going to get into a new range, and I think that the new range is going to be consolidating between 100 maybe at 100, 120 basically, and consolidating in that area. I think that that's kind of where I see this stock going in the short term. I mean, that's not really saying that we're going to have this parabolic move over here. So we could see that parabolic move. At the same time, we could just see consolidation in this new range of 100 to 120. That wouldn't be shocking to me. None of this is financial advice, of course. And another thing that is just interesting is for an arbitrage is that you have Xilinx here, or however you pronounce that, XLNX stock. So if you are interested in AMD and are interested in a arbitrage, if you buy one share of Xilinx and you want to basically hold that share with the expectation that you can get AMD shares, and the reason why you would get AMD shares is because AMD is acquiring Xilinx. You get 1.7234567. Okay, so 1.73234 shares of AMD for every one share of Xilinx. This equals an arbitrage opportunity as of the close on Friday of a 15 point, and this is a little bit more than 15.5%. This is a little bit interesting. Yeah, this is a little bit interesting, and I think the reason why it's interesting is kind of straightforward. Again, none of this is financial advice. You have to also understand the both sides of why you might want to buy Xilinx, also the reasons why you might want to just simply buy AMD. And this is, again, assuming you wanted to buy one of them in the first place. So this is interesting, this opportunity right here. Now, the reason why you have this arbitrage is because, well, this deal might not go through. Deal or no deal. So I think the deal will go through. However, you can see basically different spreads of how likely something may or may not go through. Like if you were following T-Mobile and also Sprint, the cellular companies, this was a huge arbitrage opportunity. Yet there was huge regulatory scrutiny, and this was not very straightforward that this would go through. So that's why it was a huge gap between the arbitrage there. Now this is less, but this is a significant gap here. I think that this is a little bit, basically people are putting too much risk, or there are people are putting more risk than there actually is. I think there is clearly risk. This deal may not go through, but I think that the risk should be, the premium should be even less. I think it should be maybe 11% or something like that. So I think there's additional percent. I mean, that's just my personal perspective here. I could be obviously wrong, And then so that's what I value this as. I would value it as 11 to 12%. So I think there's additional upside to what the actual risk is involved. Plus, if you just look at Xilinx, well, the stock has actually been at these similar levels of today in the past. So even if the deal didn't go through, how far will we drop is the question, right? Would we drop to maybe 125? Would we drop lower? The main point is that this stock's not going to go down to zero. This is actually a interesting stock as well. I don't know too much about the stock personally, but it looks like an interesting stock. And so I think the deal is going to go through. This is just my opinion. Again, this is entertainment purposes only. So this is just an interesting thing to be aware of, especially if you're interested in AMD. If you're interested in buying AMD, well, you could potentially, and this is, it's not like an all or nothing thing too. One could buy some Xilinx and some AMD for that arbitrage, because you could just be looking at the AMD chart and thinking that, oh, maybe you think this is going to be what actually happens, and you're bullish on AMD or whatever it may be, and you just don't want to worry about how that deal will go through. Will it go through or not, right? So there's a lot of different considerations to think about. Just wanted to throw out some of that food for thought in terms of what's going on, and make sure just you're aware of what's going on with the company and what's going on in different deals that could be happening as well. Well, I'm going to end this right here. I hope you guys got some value from this content. If you haven't already, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel for more content like this, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.